Welcome back to HallyuTalk. Hey everyone! This is the channel where we go deeper than the headlines on everything BTS, K-pop, and Korean culture. So today, we're going to talk about something that happened tonight, and I think it's bigger than most people realize. Tonight, BTS performed at Stanford Stadium in California. And at first glance, you might think, okay, another stadium concert, cool. But stick with me for the next few minutes, because there's a story behind this venue specifically that says a lot about where BTS and K-pop as a whole actually stands right now. Let's get into it. Stanford University, one of the most prestigious academic institutions on the planet, home to 83 Nobel Prize winners, 27 Turing Award recipients, the birthplace of Google, Netflix, and Instagram, a place where the world's most powerful ideas are born. And tonight, BTS is performing on its field. Now here's the thing. Stanford Stadium was built for football. It has hosted the Super Bowl, the FIFA World Cup, and in its entire history as a concert venue, it has only ever opened its doors to 2 musical acts. The first was Coldplay, in May 2025. The second is BTS. Tonight. That's it. That's the entire list. So the question I want to answer today isn't just, why is BTS playing Stanford? The real question, the one nobody's talking about, is, why did Stanford choose BTS? Before we get into the why, let's talk about the what. Because the numbers around this tour, and specifically these Stanford shows, tell a story that most people are completely missing. Stanford Stadium's normal concert capacity, 50,424 seats. For BTS, Stanford expanded that to 58,000, requiring a special permit from Santa Clara County. That is not a small thing. Stanford had to file for county approval, go through a public hearing, deal with noise ordinance reviews, get special clearance for 3 nights of fireworks. This isn't something they do lightly. And they did it for BTS. 3 nights. Let's do the math. 3 nights times 58,000 seats equals 174,000 people. At an average ticket price of around $297, that's a conservative $51 million gross from the Bay Area alone. And that's just Stanford. The full Arirang World Tour spans 85-plus dates, 34 cities, 23 countries. Bloomberg called it, in their own words, the largest world tour BTS has ever done. Industry analysts project the full tour could generate over $800 million in gross revenue. For context, Taylor Swift's Eras tour made approximately $2 billion total. BTS's comeback tour is being mentioned in the same sentence. Every single Stanford ticket, across all 3 nights, sold out within hours. Not days. Hours. The county had already flagged noise concerns. Palo Alto High School is literally across the street from the stadium. Residents wrote formal complaints to the county zoning committee. Stanford heard all of that, filed the permits anyway, got county approval. And BTS sold out before most people finished their morning coffee. So now we can ask the real question. Why would Stanford, a research university, not a concert promoter, go through all of that bureaucratic effort, all of that community pushback, to open a stadium that doesn't traditionally host music? Because the answer tells us something important about where K-pop actually stands right now. When Stanford brought in Coldplay in 2025, their official statement said it was about connecting the performing arts to the significant issues and ideas of our time. When they announced BTS for 2026, Stanford used the phrase, and I want you to pay attention to this, Stanford's commitment to the role of music in shaping global contemporary culture. That is not a promoter's press release. That is a university making an academic argument. They are saying, BTS is not entertainment. BTS is a cultural phenomenon worth studying. And they're not wrong. Stanford is in the heart of Silicon Valley. The surrounding area, Palo Alto, San Jose, San Francisco, has one of the highest concentrations of educated, high-income young professionals in the world. And Army, globally, skews heavily toward that demographic. International BTS fans are disproportionately university-educated, multilingual, and in the 18 to 35 age bracket. Stanford isn't just hosting a pop concert. Stanford is hosting a concert for a fan base that looks a lot like their own student body. Here's a production detail that matters economically. The Arirang World Tour uses a 360-degree, in-the-round stage. Instead of the audience facing a front stage, the stage sits in the middle of the field, and the audience surrounds it from all sides. What does that mean practically? More usable seating, less dead space behind the stage. That's how you go from 50,000 to 58,000 without changing the venue. For a 3-night run, that extra 8,000 seats per night is 24,000 additional tickets. At $297 average, that's $7 million in additional gross just from the stage design. BTS's production team didn't just design a stage. They designed a revenue model. The last piece of this is the one that often gets dismissed, but shouldn't. BTS performing at Stanford is covered by international media, Korean news outlets, Western entertainment press, academic journals on cultural studies, even government media from South Korea. That kind of coverage has a name in international relations: soft power. The idea that a nation's cultural exports can generate political and economic influence. And Stanford, a university with deep ties to policy, government, and global business, understands that being associated with that kind of cultural moment has value. This isn't a charity gesture. This is strategic positioning. But here's what the spreadsheets don't capture. For the Army sitting in those 58,000 seats tonight, this isn't a data point. It's a memory they've been waiting years to make. BTS went silent in 2022 to serve mandatory military service. For International Army, that was nearly 4 years of waiting. No tours, no full group content, just patience. And now, their first night back at a Western stadium is in the backyard of Stanford University. Space for fan reactions, quotes from Army Twitter/X, Weverse. Poll from live reactions tonight. One fan flew from Seoul to San Francisco specifically for tonight. Another drove from Arizona with her daughter, their first BTS concert together. A Stanford PhD student who's been listening to BTS since 2017 said she bought a floor ticket the second the pre-sale opened, and she's finishing her dissertation this week. These aren't just audience members. They're people for whom this music marked specific chapters of their lives. And that, more than any venue deal or tour revenue figure, is why Stanford's gamble on BTS was never really a gamble. Let's zoom out one more time. When Coldplay played Stanford in May 2025, it was historic because a stadium that had never hosted concerts was finally opening its doors. When BTS plays Stanford tonight, it means that door didn't just open for rock bands with 25-year legacies. It opened for a K-pop group from Seoul who debuted in 2013 with zero connections to Western music industry infrastructure. Think about what that means. In 2013, K-pop was a genre that most Western music executives couldn't name 5 artists from. In 2026, a Korean boy band is the second act in history to play a venue that has hosted the Super Bowl. And they got there not through luck, and not just through talent. They got there because they built a global community that doesn't care about genre labels or language barriers. Army did not follow BTS into Western institutions. Army dragged those institutions, kicking and screaming sometimes, toward acknowledging that what BTS does matters. Stanford has 174,000 reasons to agree. So the next time someone asks you why BTS playing a university stadium is a big deal, tell them it's not about the university. It's about what it means when one of the world's most exclusive academic institutions looks at the global cultural landscape in 2026 and decides that 7 men from Korea represent something worth putting on their stage. That's not a concert. That's a verdict. If you want to go deeper on the Arirang World Tour, the economics, the setlist analysis, the soft power story, subscribe and hit the bell. HallyuTalk drops new documentary-style content every week. And if you were at Stanford tonight, I want to hear about it. Drop a comment below. Orahi.